Hi, it's Kamon Reynolds, and whew, the sun is out for a second, so we've got to get to it. Welcome to the Package versus Nuke Challenge again. Sorry we have been negligent on keeping you up to date on what's going on in here, but we've just been super busy. We've also, unfortunately, had to break some of these colonies down for nucleus cells because we're just not producing hardly any honey this year, and that's just the reality of it. It just feels very unreal. Very unreal. But anyways, we had 7 colonies that we went to winter with, 5 original, 2 splits. Out of that, this was the only colony, the one that was over here, that did not do well. I ended up combining it in with this colony, quite a while ago, late March, early April, I want to say. And so we ended up with 6. And then the one over there in the middle, this one didn't do super hot, even though it had the insulative stuff. I mean, you know, you can have the world's best insulated hive or whatever you want to consider the best insulation, but if the hive's no good, it's no good. And we have that one, this one, and that one over there for honey production, but I really wish we'd have just sold nukes off of them. We're fixing to break them down before too long. We're just trying to recoup our investment. I really thought we would make honey this year. And these colonies last year would have produced a minimum of a deep box of honey each. No problem. And it's not like we expect 100-pound honey yields every year or anything like that. Our business plan this year was, averaging on our big colonies, not counting our little ones, just our big colonies, 50 pounds per colony. And I think that's pretty reasonable for some strong colonies, and you're fixing to see what they look like. And we are not. We've already started feeding these things. Now, thankfully, the bees have got a sunny day, but they're going to have to really work hard because there's just so much rain in the forecast. I know so many of you are dealing with this right now, and best of luck to you and your bees and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to try to check through a couple of these real quick. So I've got the oh goodness, the double bubble foamy thing that Ian likes to use, and I used about 50 of these going in through winter. And they really, I think, do a pretty good job. The only thing I don't like about them is when you pull them off, that crunch sound, that when you peel back. And boy, they really don't like that, especially if you don't apply the smoke pretty good. But, I mean, other than that, and they also have a tendency to do this right here. If you don't have very low frame rates and they crush bees in between the lids, that's a big bummer. Anyways, so you gotta choose what you want. Up here you can see where they're drawing some foundation out into combs. And man, that's just a shame. Look at those bees. But that's because we're feeding this colony. Now, if you'll remember, this was a package. We did requeen it with one of our own queens. So we're going to get down in here and see what's going on. But this colony, a lot of the colonies over here went backwards a little bit. I mean, they're not, sickly or anything, but they're not any better or bigger than they were a month and a half ago because there hasn't been a lot to get. Keep in mind, I fed this one probably 2 gallons of syrup in the last 14 days. Alright, so bringing in pollen today, yellow, cream looking pollens, and definitely bright orange. Probably from some ivy plant or some vine. Those plants are pretty tough. Alright. Now there's no excluder on this one. I didn't throw one on. We've got eggs down in here. That's a good brood pattern up here. We've got syrup, and they are bringing in some nectar today. The bees are just working so hard. If we could just get a week of what we're getting today, we actually could make some honey off of that. Wow, look at all that larvae down in there. The next frame over looks fantastic. Now we need to check the bottom box and see what's going on down there because they might not be utilizing that space properly. So I'm going to stick this frame right here. I'm just going to come on over here. Wow. That's what you like to see. You got a little bit of capped honey / syrup. I'm not 100% sure what it is. We've got our bee bread ring, and then we've got our capped brood. that is a lot of bee power fixing to happen, and they're going to need every bit of that going through summer. What do we got over here? Oh, check that out. It's a cell. It's just a queen cup. But can you see that little drop of nectar down in there, Laurel? Sometimes the bees will put a little drop of nectar down in there. There's no egg, but you know, when there's a lot coming in, they just go to the nearest cell. Let's go ahead and just check that next one, just make sure. Yep, dry as a bone. This is a great colony. We're going to be splitting it before too long. There's just so many bees in here. It's a shame though we didn't have, you know, I don't expect bumper crop yields, but just to have somewhat of an average flow would have been nice. And to see this colony in prime conditions could have made 2 boxes, deep boxes of honey. Definitely with a queen laying like that. And, you know, at least 1 deep box of honey. And that's just not going to happen this year. So we're trying to feed and get them to draw a foundation out, keep them going strong and healthy. I just hope they can bring a lot of bee bread to go through summer. And we're going to start feeding pollen patties pretty soon. A lot of people tell me definitely don't tell other people to do that. You can do a lot of things that people say that you can't do as long as you do it right. There's a lot of little things and nuances to beekeeping that if you don't do it exactly right, it can actually mess things up. After this one, we'll go down to that bottom box. Alright, so I'm seeing basically just syrup and nectar. And same thing over here. You're going to need that. You know, and going into summer, big colonies like this eat a lot. They really do. And so if they don't have massive amounts of honey stored away or sugar syrup, then they are going to really go backwards. They're going to naturally go backwards in our dearth anyways. They do that based off of the incoming foodstuffs. And usually from June to August, we just don't have a whole lot coming in. Late August, we can get some, but it's crazy. We get too much rain here lately in spring and early summer, and then once late summer and fall comes along, it just decides, well, you know, you've had your bit for the year, we're done now. And it's not good. Alright, so let's drop down to that next box. Well, we still got our screened bottom board on. I left the little insert in. I really like solid bottom boards myself. There's definitely weight to that box though, that's good. You know, a good big colony like this is definitely going to need at least a medium's worth of honey to make it to the fall flow without really retrenching and going backwards. Look at that bee coverage right there. Now typically your bottom box this time of the year, if you don't have, well, even if you do have a single brood management system going, it's going to be a little bit more hotter and aggressive because you're going to have a lot of incoming forager bees into here. It really depends on the temperament of your bees, what you smell like. I mean, if you're wearing some strong body odor products, you know, I'm not sure if I can say companies on here or not. Will I get flagged for that? I won't get flagged? Alright. Old Spice. You know, if you're younger, you might use Axe or something like that. I'm telling you, I know why they call it Axe, because some people put so much on there to about cut you right in half. It's terrible. Worked with the guy, he always handed me the paperwork at the trucking place, and every time I would get it, all he would do is touch it with his fingers. And I mean, my truck smelled like that the rest of the day. I guess it could be worse. You know, driving a truck, it could be a lot worse. Oh my goodness. Let's see what we have down in here. A lot of drone brood. Wow, okay. You know, so this queen is just doing a fantastic job. This is just a great queen. Look at the larvae down in there. Yeah, so she's going down there to lay as well. Some queens are really bad about getting stuck in place. I had one this year that swarmed on me really prematurely and early, and it just had all kinds of room still, and they still swarmed. I was going to rotate the boxes if necessary, but if she's down here laying larvae like that, then there's really no point. We do need to take some bees from this colony, though. There's no point in just leaving this all together like this. I mean, they might swarm on us. The honey flow for us is getting close to being done. We're already feeding, so we're not going to be taking anything. The last thing we want is this colony to swarm on us. Wow. So there's eggs down in there. You know, there's some emerging bees coming out of these cells. Right in here, 1, 2, 3. Lots of bee bread, thank goodness. You know, but they go through that stuff so quickly, especially a colony this large. Lots of larvae. So she's dropping down and laying. What a fantastic queen. Some queens, again, are really bad about just getting in that top box or getting bound in certain areas, and they're really not good about going from one side of the brood nest to the other. And some queens will not drop down hardly at all. Oh my goodness. You know, there's just eggs all down in here. Excuse me, bees. This is a really healthy colony. So there's no reason we can't split this one right down the middle and have 2 strong singles. Honestly, probably be better to turn it into 3 colonies. And so this is what, you know, I haven't been able to follow this colony, this package versus nuke challenge as much as I would like. But basically, what we've done is we've taken care of the queen situation, which is priority number 1. I mean, as far as when you get new bees, you got to have a good queen. A lot of times with packages, you can have issues. And then after that, you got to make sure there's no mites in there. We really took care of the mites last year. We'll be trying to show you more about that before too long. If we get a chance, a lot depends on when I go back to work and what we'll be able to fit in and what we won't be able to fit in. We're really going to try to focus on that though. Lots of nice pollen baskets. Look at all this bee bread right here. It's great. You know, I was thinking about rotating the boxes, but there's just really no point. She's been coming down here laying eggs and young larvae. But what would be good is if I took a frame or 2 of capped brood, shook a frame of bees, and dropped a nice ripe queen cell into that and stuck it somewhere else. That would be a really nice split. You just gotta love colonies like this one right here. I'll be doing that before too long. Wow, did you see that nectar come out of there? I'm bringing some in today. I haven't shook nectar out in a while. Alrighty. I'm going to scrape some of this drone comb off down in here. Some people don't like the idea of killing those drones, but uh-oh. Look at that drone right there. There's a varroa mite. They absolutely love drones. And I absolutely hate mites. So this colony looks fantastic. It looks healthy. And it is healthy right now. But is it going to be 2 months from now? The dearth's coming up. Nutrition's going to be going down. Bee population is going to naturally decline with the nutrition. Varroa mite population is going to keep going up. So we're going to get a hold of this little booger and let it be fed to the ants or something like that. Alright, but the main reason I trimmed that off there is, one, drones really aren't going to be all that important right now. And the other thing is that it can really kind of crush bees as you're dropping this down in here like that. So this section right here is doing the same thing to me. And that's a lot of the reasons why many beekeepers go to 9 frames instead of 10 once the combs are drawn, is you don't have quite as much problems with that. I've been experimenting though, doing 10s and 10 frames and 9s, and honestly what I've found is that if you have a great queen, the mites aren't bothering your bees, and they have all the nutrition they need, they do well in either situation. Most of my hives have 9 instead of 10. Great hives. So I don't see any significant difference in production whatsoever. It all really has to do with those 3 keys. So we're just going to throw all this back on. We're going to kind of take a peek into one of these over here. One thing that you want to do is take this, kind of smoke underneath a little bit. Just kind of make sure that you drive the bees off that bottom. Oops. That way we don't crush any more bees than we have to. And some people, I get asked this a lot, and no, there's no way to hardly do inspections on colonies this large and not crush a bee. I promise you, there's times you have no idea that you're crushing a bee, and you are. It's you're just so big. And there's just so many bees in here. It's just an insane amount of bees. This is beautiful right here. Not that. Nice new comb coming up, and that was just Man Lake frame right out of the box, basically. Just throw it in there, but there's a, we're feeding them a lot of sugar syrup, colony strong, ready to expand. And it doesn't take much wax on those things as long as they're ready to use it. A little bit of a heavier coat is nicer though. Alright. Those bees over there will figure their way back. Get off of there, please. Now we're going to skip on into another hive. Alright, so we're going to get into this colony now in the package versus nuke challenge. This is one of the splits that we made off of the nukes over there last year. If you want to see how we made this split, then we're going to leave that up there. It was very easy to do. You can purchase a queen or you can make queens. We're going to have a lot more videos coming up on that. If we can just get some sunny weather and get some mated, oh, we'll be in good shape. Oh, and someone's going to ask, we are not selling queens right now. Well, there's a few bees in there. So some people see this and they think the bees are coming out at you. If you see what the bees are doing, they're going round and round. These are graduating bees. This is their first flight. They're called orientation flights. And some of them go out the entrance like normal bees. There's always those weirdos that have to do things different. And beekeepers. And what are you laughing about over there? You married me. Anyways, and so some of them went up through the top and they saw, hey, there's an entrance right there. But we are feeding this colony. Look down in there, you can kind of see the syrup. And you don't see very many drowned bees down in there, do you? The colony's healthy. There is a couple floats, but honestly they're not necessary for a good colony. And they're just going down there and sucking that syrup up. We're hoping to get this box drawn out before the flows, well, before this period is done. I don't know if we'll call it a flow or not. If it was, we wouldn't be needing that syrup. Let's try to get some combs to replace what we just sold off. Alright, and that was via nucleus colonies and whatnot. Very, very light. They've filled this pretty full, which is kind of concerning. So I'm going to probably swap these boxes around and hopefully we don't have any swarm cells going on. That's the problem sometimes with feeding, is you can really push your bees towards swarming. Now there shouldn't be any brood up in here because we have an excluder below this and we've had it down there for quite a while. Okay, well, this isn't as full as I thought. Of course not. It's, you can see it up in there. That's just unbelievable. Unbelievable how little nectar. And this is one of those colonies that, until we started feeding it about 2 weeks ago, they were going backwards. Just a fantastic colony. Great brood pattern, all that stuff. exactly what you wanted coming out of March, going into what should have been the honey flow of April and May for us. And they just, you know, they went backwards. The weather was too cool to fly. We've had phenomenally more days where the bees could not fly than we've ever had in my short life as a beekeeper. You know, this is 17 seasons. I can remember one year that was kind of comparable to this. We had a super late freeze and it just nuked everything. I mean, even trees that normally don't get hurt by frost were hurt because it got so stinking cold. But even that year, the sun came out afterwards and the bees were able to fly and get stuff that wasn't damaged later. This year, we've gotten multiple weeks with frost that we usually don't get. And then more importantly than that, that was rough, but if it would have just warmed up and the bees been able to fly, we'd have been okay. It would have been a reduced honey yield, but it would have been at least a honey yield. And this is the first good day of flying we've had in about 5 days. You should have seen the orientation flights when it first got warm enough, about 2 o'clock this evening. And there's like 3 or 4 generations or brood sections of bees heading orientation flights, and it was like a tornado of bees. All right, we're gonna go down to that bottom chamber and see what's going on down there. I got a little weight in there, that's good. They're gonna need that. Alright. You see we got 9 frames in this one. Hopefully no swarming's going on down in here. Brood pattern's not looking as good as I'd like. Oh, well. They got bee bread. And see, we're not even in a really good flow of bee bread and nectar, and they've got this. And this is one thing you have to watch out with single brood or even, you know, any type of management system. Some areas produce more pollen, and some years it's more heavy than others, and you can definitely get a backfilled brood nest due to pollens as well. So this is really good though. This is a frame that can be moved up into the next box, and if possible a drawn comb can replace it, and that way the bees still have it and they can go up there and get it, but it's not taking up so much of the queen's laying room. And people are like, well, there's plenty of room, she still has 8 more frames and part of this frame. Well, if all those cells were empty, then yeah, sure. We'll take the pollen. We will take it. This frame's got some weight to it. And, you know, I'm seeing a lot of young stuff down in here, eggs. And you can kind of see the sporadic pattern. I think that's due to when I came in here about 2 weeks ago almost. I was just looking at the colony, there just wasn't hardly any nectar or honey. We hadn't fed them, because we don't this time of the year. And they had just gone backwards. That's more like it right there, seeing a little bit of more of a pattern. It's still spotty a little bit, but she was doing just fine before all that cold weather, weren't you, girl? Yeah, this is more like it right here. The nice thing is we know the queen's in this bottom box. We know where to take our brood for splits is going to be coming from. That's nice. There's a lot of uncapped larvae down in here too, so this is just tons of bees fixing to happen. This was laid after we started feeding. So sometimes you just got to feed those bees. That next frame over looks really good. You know, we start treating, it's going to really help us kill the mites better as well. That's just really nice. Good pattern. Good bit of bees. So, you know, we're going to be starting our treatments early, so that's one of the advantages, is since we won't be pulling very much honey, we'll be focused more this year on killing those mites and queen rearing and, you know, other things. YouTube videos. Yeah. Another, you know, good looking frame. You know, there's nectar in some of these cells right here, but I will take that, definitely. You know, this one over here looks good. I'm not seeing any signs of swarming. Not even a little bit. One thing that I am going to do is see if we can find a frame to pull up. Let's see if we can find the queen too. I don't have to find the queen, I'm just kind of curious. Wow, looks like there's a ton of bee bread on that frame right here. And this has got a lot of cap stuff. You know, I'm looking at this and, you know, I'm not seeing a ton of room for her to lay, to be honest. Okay, this is free. Some stuff is being freed up here as these bees are coming on out of the cells. Oh, there's one right there. And wouldn't you know, the queen's right there, just waiting for that bee to come on out so she can get to it. She is having a little bit of a hard time finding some space. If you had a drawn comb, it'd be great to swap some out. I actually have some this year. A little bit, not much. Mostly brood combs. Yep, she's looking in any hole she can find to drop that egg in. Alright, let's put this frame back in there. Well, we know where the queen's at. That frame over there has a lot of capped brood on it, so she's utilizing that frame very well. And I really think keeping your bees under an excluder in a single chamber is a wonderful management strategy, but you can't just throw an excluder on there and expect it to work. Not at all. You gotta pull some bees from the hive, you've got to do some manipulations. And a lot depends on your area, the length of your nectar flows, and the intensity of your pollen flows as well. There's a lot of variables, and man, every year is different. Where's the easy button? That's what I want to know. Oh, nice. Very nice. I am shocked at how much this hive has in the way of bee bread for the lack of flying that they've been able to do. I'm very happy about that. And, you know, and it's not like, okay, we didn't get our honey, so it's a complete wash. You know, there's things that we can do. We can split these 3 big colonies 3 ways each and have 9 colonies out of it. Of course, we can supply our own queens, which is handy. So that's not costing us anything but time, really, and a handful of pennies for queen cups and stuff like that. Grafting and all that jazz. Wow, more bee bread. That is really good. This is the most I've seen in a while. This would be a fantastic frame. Yeah, we're probably going to swipe this one. You know, I hate taking it from the colony in these type of conditions, but this is a perfect frame to give to our queen rearing colonies. We really want them to have tons of bee bread to raise those high quality queens. You know, so you can take that, shake the bees off, and take it to your queen rearing colony. And that is loaded, absolutely loaded with bee bread too. Oh my goodness, there's just bee bread all in this hive. No wonder the colony is slowing down a little bit. I'm surprised. If there was a strong nectar flow, this thing would be hitting the trees for sure. Well, trying to anyways. Yeah, there's just bee bread all over the place. So we need to get this queen in more laying room. For sure. It's very nice though that they're not trying to swarm on us. Alright, I'm going to stick that one over here. Okay, that's just really nice, but so the reason I stuck that one over there, the queen's here, this one has very old stuff that's starting to emerge out of the cell. So I stuck that close to her where she can lay it up. This right here is capped larvae, and they're fixing to go through that whole cycle of their capped period, but it's going to take a while for that to free itself up. So I mean, it doesn't really matter. You can put it in however it came out. A lot of people recommend doing it the same way that it was before. We're not getting cold temperatures, so I don't care. This one has bees emerging out as well. So I'm going to stick this over here so she can lay that up as the bees are coming on out. And we'll stick this one right here. And I believe this one had a good bit of pollen in it too. And yes, it does. So wow. We didn't check that furthermost frame, but there's a chance that it had a lot as well. This is about half a frame of pollen. And I say pollen, but it's bee bread. Same difference. So now what to do about getting that queen some more room to lay? Alright, well, here we go. If you'll remember, this one came up from the top, and it does have a lot of nectar in it. But you can shake that out. You know, some of this is sugar syrup for sure that we've been feeding the bees. So they're absolutely loving that. And they'll stick that above and in other places. Bees are pretty good if they have the opportunity to give that queen room to lay. So this will give her some locations. Whoops. Bees love when you do that. Try to get these frames back where they were. Get this excluder on and let these bees get back to their wonderful work of getting ready for that summer dearth. I'm so thankful we got this sunny day, because you just never know what the weather's going to give you. And the weatherman's saying rain, rain, rain. Alright, so let's get those bees out of the way. Now this pollen frame that we just swiped, we can either stick it above the excluder, or we can shake the bees off and stick it in the freezer. Come back over here and put a foundation or a comb in its place. I would like to see more brood than that. She's laying good patterns, but they have really filled that brood nest up quite a bit. We're fixing to go into our dearth, so as long as they don't try to swarm, they'll be fine. If he has more brood, you can split it a little bit better, but honestly, that's looking pretty good. I'm happy with it. This has been an unusual year, so I don't expect, I expect unusual things. Let's check this out a little bit better. Get those bees out of the way. Just look at all that. A little bit of drone cells in there. But just look at all that wonderful bee bread. This will be perfect for our queen rearing nukes and finishers for all of our cells. And just the diversity and the coloration of the bee bread shows you this is going to be great. That's awesome. Alright, so I'm going to do something a little bit different than it was before. I'm going to stick the foundations. That one's drawn a little bit. I'm going to stick the foundations down next. Yeah, I really wish I had a good frame of larvae. They really didn't have a lot of young stuff. Just she's slowing down on her lane. She's run out of room. Really not doing a whole lot up here yet. You can see a little bit down on that next frame. This right here. They're getting there. They're getting a little bit of stuff going on, but that population isn't as big as it really needs to be. I could get them to, I could shake all these bees out, give this box to another colony. It's just sugar syrup for the most part though. We'll get it drawn a little bit more, but maybe not as much as I'd like. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to stick this in here. I'm not going to fool with this right now. I'll come back later and grab it. It'll be in the top box, easy to get. And I'll shake the bees off and stick it in the freezer. Yeah, there's plenty of syrup in that one. Whew. But you know, there's no brood in this box right here, so we're not isolating that brood way away from that queen or anything like that. If it was, I don't really like moving brood that far away like that. It's a good way to get them to start drawing supersedure or emergency queens, because they don't get exposed to her pheromone enough and they feel like she's not producing enough, or there's none at all, and then they're like, oh man, we need a queen. So anyways, just going through a couple of colonies during this sunny period, just double check and make sure they're not swarming. That one over there that's got the insulated boxes on it, as you can see, you can stack your wooden supers on top. So some people are liking the option of being able to overwinter in the insulated material and then build their own honey supers with the wood, so you kind of have a little bit of both worlds. I'd like to say thanks again to Blue Sky Bee Supply for supplying our channel with that double deep insulated box for our bees. So thanks everyone for watching this video. If you have any questions for what happened, leave them below.